The local play is part of a repertoire of performances by South Sudanese artists who have begun an initiative to spread peace messages after 2 months of fighting in the country. Traveling around villages and towns, they urge for unity and also collect donations for those displaced by the violence.
We try to build this kind of peace to be among us, first as artists, because now if you look at those artists from different tribes, we were not from one tribe, because we belong to South Sudan, and we believe that just through our ideas we can bring the South Sudan to the one level called people of South Sudan.
The conflict, which erupted in Juba on December 15 last year, featuring government forces against rebel fighters, has led to the deaths of thousands of people, and more than 500,000 have fled from their homes. The United Nations and riot groups are positive that both warring sides have committed atrocities in a conflict that has taken the country to the brink of civil war.
I think the government should focus right now as its priority to help their own people who are still living in the camp, because they don't feel safe anymore. People are now living in the camps. They don't want to come back home. They don't want to go back to our houses, to their houses, especially here in the UN camps. Last week we've been interviewing some families from there. They don't feel safe. They are not going back to their areas.
A ceasefire deal was signed in late January in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, but both sides have since accused each other of violating the agreement as fights continue in parts of the country.
The government of the Republic of South Sudan reiterates its commitment to the negotiations and without preconditions.
But while the talks may be deadlocked, the artists in Juba hope their initiative will have a more positive impact. Some residents, however, feel the government needs to focus more attention on those affected by the violence. One of the show's highlights is a guitar solo that gets the audience dancing, forgetting for the moment the difficulties they face. For many ordinary South Sudanese, however, the future remains uncertain unless the country's leaders can find a way to restore peace and security in Africa's youngest nation.
Truly touching to watch. We're going to take another break now, but when we come back, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to let our hair down, change it to something a bit more laid back, and do a bit of reflection.
Many factors define your health. Some you can control, while others are simply beyond you. On Health News, we highlight all these factors and through medical experts provide information that will help you take informed decisions on healthy living, nutrition, and keeping fit. Get incisive health policy analysis. Health News, promoting good health.
This is the shot right there. You're amazing. You're a star.
Welcome back. You're still watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Now, I bet when I told you before the break that we're going to lay our head down and also change to something a bit more laid back, you probably thought I was joking. Well, I wasn't. We're standing right here live now at the University of Ibadan Zoological Garden, and we're checking out all the amazing animals. We've seen crocodiles, we've seen lions, we've seen chimpanzees, we've seen all the species of birds, and we've seen this amazing giraffe behind me who goes by the name of Bajoke, and she seems to be doing pretty well. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the likes of the polar bear who goes by the name of Wang, who is currently in Johannesburg. He's the only polar bear in the whole of the African continent that is alive at the moment. He was brought into the African continent about 30 years ago, along with his female counterpart, Gibi. Gibi's passed away, and now Wang remains the only polar bear who is going to die pretty soon. By the time he is extinct, there will no longer be any polar bears in the African continent.
And we decided not to treat them
Humans cherish their life partners and miss them when they have to say goodbye permanently. Wang might be a bear, but he feels the same way after losing 30-year-old Gibi, who was found dead on January 13th in the pool of her Johannesburg Zoo enclosure. She died after suffering a heart attack. The two had been partners since they arrived at the South African Zoo in 1985, each of them barely a year old.
With the passing of Gibi, Wang is the last polar bear in the whole continent of Africa, and when he will die, there will be no more polar bears in Africa.
Wang is now 250 kg after losing muscle mass due to extreme old age and liver failure. Now that he is 30 years old, the Johannesburg Zoo does not expect him to live much longer.
There is no conservation we can do for the polar bear here. They don't breed due to our climate. So our feeling is it wouldn't be fair to bring polar bears to Africa into the wrong climate, and we will not have polar bears on exhibit any longer.
Unfortunately, when his time does come, it is likely to be the end of polar bears in Africa.
Now, after having seen that report, it does sadden my heart to see the sacrifices that have to be made when we try to force into our society what is not exactly ours or what does not necessarily fit in. In a matter of years, Wang would probably join the likes of Haruna, who lived for 39 years, and also Benga over there, who lived for about 100 years. We could certainly learn a thing or two from Wang's story. He might have not had a say when it came to being taken away from his natural habitat, but you do when it comes to habits or ways of life which you choose to imbibe. Stay true to your roots no matter what, and don't try to fit in when you can stand out. Well, as always, it's been a pleasure to have you join me on Network Africa. I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to send an SMS to the number on your screen. Until next time, stay proudly African. I'm Cynthia Ara. Bye for now.
A time comes in the life of every race when people are driven by echoes of the past to chart a course for an exalted future. Africa is a bliss treasured, as major actors in the Africa arena plots a renaissance towards common destiny. Let's pedal across the streams of yesterday, from the backstreets of Africa to the defining roles of policymakers, the political realities of the African nation, balance of power, and will strive to sustain national interest and identity. Join us on Network Africa on Channels Television. Network Africa, the rallying point for the masses.